Greetings all. Let us quickly have a look at the Hong Kong 50 chart. Um, as you can see, I have the Hong Kong 50 monthly chart open. And the first question that we need to ask ourselves is there anything that's interesting, or are there any interesting developments that are happening on this particular chart? So let's have a look. So the first thing that I can see that is very much interesting is that we had this huge formation in this region, with the neckline being there. And as I usually say, when it comes to M and W formations, once the neckline has been broken in this manner, we expect price to come back to the neckline and then continue down rather. And then in the case of a W formation, we'd like to see price doing this, breaking the neckline, coming back to the neckline, and then going up, right? So on this particular chart, what we saw happen was price formed an M formation and the neckline was broken. However, we have not as yet seen a retracement back to the neckline, in which case we would have looked for selling opportunities in this region, and then expecting price to head down in that manner, right? So that never happened. Excuse me. So what else can we tell by looking at this particular chart? Before we continue, what I'm gonna do actually now is just add a neckline so that we don't forget about the large M structure that currently appears on the monthly chart. So I'll just do this quickly. Just bear with me, guys, and then I will mark it, or rather, I'll make it a pink color. There we go. That's just to remind us that we have that neckline there. Okay. What else can we tell by looking at this particular chart? Another thing that is very interesting is that we had this head and shoulders pattern, right? Left shoulder, head, right hand shoulder, right? However, the pattern is pretty much complete. In fact, it was completed at this particular level, right? So that is no longer relevant. But what else can we tell by looking at this particular chart? Another thing that is very important is this particular bullish chart over here, or rather the bullish candle. It's a small, or rather it's a bullish candle with a small body and a long lower wick. So what this tells us is that at this particular level here, we have a whole lot of liquidity that's trapped, and at one point or another, price needs to come back to that level to grab that liquidity, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a line in this manner. Excuse me. I'm just gonna add a line here and then make it yellow. This will serve as just a reminder that at one point or another, price has to come to that level to grab some liquidity. So let's continue. What else can we tell by looking at this chart? Another thing is that we can see that price also had created an overextended M formation in this region, with the neckline being there. However, we never got to see a break of the structure, price coming back to retest the neckline and then going down. So this is irrelevant for now. But let's continue. What else do we see? We also have this particular candlestick, which is a bearish candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick. This suggests that we have a whole lot of liquidity at this level, which is the 18176 level, and price at some point needs to come there to grab some of that liquidity. Similarly, on the left hand side of the chart, we have this candlestick as well, which tells us that we have liquidity at around this level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a excuse me, I'm a line here, or rather, I'll just mark this area, right? Because there's a whole lot of liquidity that is sitting here. Another thing is that we have a strong area of support because of these two um, areas here and here and here. So that makes this a very important support area. And as I said, guys, that I would love to see price coming back here to grab that liquidity before actually going up to grab liquidity again at this level, right? So let's continue. So what else can we tell, or what else do we find interesting on this particular chart? I don't see anything further, so what I'm going to do now is head over to the weekly chart. There we go. There goes the weekly chart. Let's see. What do we see on this particular chart? I can see that at this area here we have a gap which needs to be filled. So price has to come back here to fill this particular gap. Excuse me. Another thing that's very interesting that I see is that we had a whole lot of informations. We had a whole lot of informations in this area. We had an information here, we had a neckline, we had an information here, we had a neckline as well, right? With this recent information, we saw price breaking the neckline and then coming back to retest it. We would have looked for further selling opportunities here. Excuse me, let me just redraw that so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Let's see. Okay, just bear with me, guys. So we had let's see, let me see this. Okay, so we had sorry guys, just bear with me. So we had this particular information, and it's actually an extended or an overextended information because the first leg of the M is higher than the second leg. And then we had the neckline in this region, right? Price broke the neckline and then came back to retest the neckline. Here. So we would have looked for selling opportunities here. And then we saw price coming down. Just to confirm this, I just want to see if the neckline actually is in line with any of the key Fibonacci zones, such as the 0.50 or the 0.61 Fibonacci zones. Let's see. There we go. So we can see that that's the information. The neckline was in this area. Price broke the neckline and came back to the 61.8% Fibonacci zone, right? And we would have looked for selling opportunities here to around this level, right? Excuse me. So that would have been very much valid. So let's continue. What else can we tell by looking at this particular weekly chart of HK50? What else can we tell? What else can we see? Another thing that I can see is that in this region here, we also had a small information here in this region. However, this information will be better visible on the daily chart as well as on the H4 chart, right? But I can see that we had a small information there as well. Price looks like came back to the neckline to retest it and then went down. But let's continue. So I don't see anything else that is of value on this particular chart. So I'm going to have to go to the daily chart. Here we are. The first thing that I'm going to do on this particular chart is add a channel. I'll add one in this manner, and we just need to ensure that our channels are as accurate as possible. Just bear with me, guys. There we go. And I'm just going to make it a different color, such as a black. There we go. Right? So what else can we tell by looking at this particular chart? Right? As I said earlier, we have an information here, and I did say that it would be better visible on the daily chart as well as the M4 chart, right? So there we go. Price broke the neckline, came back to retest the neckline, and then what we expect is this to happen, right? So let's continue. What else do we see here? We have a gap here in this region. We have a gap. Just bear with me. We have a gap in this region, and price needs to come back to fill that gap. So what else do we see on this chart? Let's have a look. What else do we see? We also have this candlestick here, which is a bearish candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick. So this tells us immediately that we have a whole lot of liquidity that's sitting at that level, and the market needs to come back to grab that liquidity before actually going up, as I stated earlier. So let's continue. So what else can we tell by looking at this particular chart? Another thing that I can tell is that we have in this region a small information in this region. It's actually like this, with the neckline being about there. However, it'll be better visible on the H4 as well as the daily chart. So let's continue. I don't see anything else that is of interest. I'm going to head on over to the H4 chart. Here we go. As I said, that we have another information here, but if you look at it, actually, it seems to be a triple top, right? In this manner, right? Price came down and then retraced to there, right? That is what I see. But one of the first things that I need to do on this particular chart is actually add a channel. Let's see, where would I start my channel? Oh, before I actually do that, I'm just gonna fix my daily channel. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. As I usually say, guys, that our channels need to be as accurate as possible, just to ensure that at the end of the day, when we do execute, our executions also are accurate. Just bear with me, guys. Just bear with me. Okay, there we go. There we go. And then on this side, I'm just gonna push it out. actually add some more on this side. Okay, just a bit more. Let's see. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Then the bottom one, I'm just gonna let's see. Okay, that's fine actually. That's fine. Let's continue. Okay, right. So from here, what I'm gonna do is add my H4 channel as well, and I will add it in this manner. Just bear with me. There we go. There we go. Then I'll put this one here, and I'll just make it a different color as well, just to make it stand out. Let's make it a purple so that it stands out. There we go. Okay. So what else can we tell by looking at this particular chart? I'm just gonna add a neckline so that we don't forget about this triple top that we have here, right? However, price on the H4 chart seems to be in an uptrend. What it's doing actually right now is it's forming higher highs, because we've got a low here, we've got a higher high here, we've got a higher low here, and we have a higher high here, right? Price now seems to be heading down. Excuse me. So let's see, right? And what else do we see by looking at this particular chart? I don't see anything further. Let me head on over to the H1 chart. On the H1 chart, we have a further. On the H1 chart, we have a further overextended information here, right? And what we may see actually. Okay, let me just drop it. Here's the overextended information with a neckline there. Price may come back here again to retest it, and if it does do that, we would look for possible selling opportunity at this level, as our target is down there where we have that candle filling that needs to happen. Let me just go back to the daily chart or the weekly chart just to remind you what we had discussed earlier. So excuse me. So what we said earlier was that price has to come to this region over here. Price has to come to this region over here, and that is because we have a whole lot of liquidity that's sitting there. Price must come to the 18001 zone, in my humble opinion, as there is quite a lot of money rather, that's sitting over there. So I'm just going to go back to the H1 chart. On the H1 chart, what I would do is I would continue to look for further selling opportunities. However, at this point in time, I do not see any. What I would do is I would add a neckline also here, right, and wait for price to retrace to the neckline. Once it does so, I would look for selling opportunities. Let me just add the Fibonacci tool to see if the neckline aligns with any of the key areas. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. Let's have a look. The neckline actually is not really in line with any of the key areas. However, the closest key level that the neckline is in line with is the 61.8% key level, right? So as I said, what I would do is wait for price to retrace to the neckline. Should it get here, I would look for further buying opportunities. And what I would look for is, so if this is my information and the neckline is there, when price breaks the neckline, I would love to see it come back to the neckline and then create another information and then continue going down. I would look for a sell somewhere in that region, right? So that is it as far as HSI slash HK50 is concerned. Just to recap, as I said, ideally what we would love to see happen is price come to this particular region, and by the looks of things, it looks like price will come to that region just to grab some of that liquidity. Once that liquidity has been grabbed, what I would like to see happen next is price actually giving me a double formation, breaking the neckline, coming back to retest that neckline, and that's when I would look for further buying opportunities, and I would buy from here and hold all the way to this particular level here where we have this bearish or rather this bullish candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick. There's a whole lot of liquidity sitting at this level. There's a whole lot of money sitting at this level, right? So that is it, guys, in as far as HSI is concerned. If you'd like me to have a look at any other charts, just let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, thank you for watching and peace out.